I'm ready.
Are y'all ready? I'm 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I guess Kevin's not coming either. Kevin.
Let's
Kenneth
go.
isn't coming
Get it?
Yeah.
Let's start.
Make these
Where am
people
I
sit down.
I hereby open the PD&Z meeting for May 27th at 6 p.m. Open up for roll call. Ryan Miller called in. Kyle Marskin here. Marianne Atkins.
Here.
Kenneth Haynes. Christy Kennard. Sorry, Christy.
Here.
Dolores Martin.
Here.
And William Richardson.
Here.
So if we would stand for the pledge. Oh man, this has still got me messed up.
I know.
Oh, I keep forgetting we have to turn around.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We got our babysitter back.
Tammy, do we have any public comments? Okay. On to presentation overview of Open Meetings Act and meeting decorum.
Well, I think we're going to try to wait for the full
You want
cadre to do that. In particular, the chair, because decorum is really about the chair. Or Kyle, since you're there, maybe you need to hear that. When technically the chair is supposed to recognize someone to speak, and I know we're a little bit informal with that. But that's something that if it comes up and gets contentious, particular, from the public, and we do kind of try to separate the public's right to speak and the public hearings, so that when you go to, deliberate, it's really supposed to be just for you all. But the chair can always recognize somebody in the audience or somebody if they need additional input. But technically, once the public comment's over, it's supposed to be for you guys to deliberate, controlled by the chair. And if it gets contentious and even two PD&Z members are shouting over each other, then we really need to step up on that and make sure that the person is going to be recognized to speak. So that was pretty much the basis of the decorum, or the heart of the decorum is the chair. And since he's not here today,
And yeah, that's what I
we'll
was like.
probably
Do
get a
we wait?
repeat next week, which doesn't hurt, right?
So do we put this on the next item as well, just to go over and?
Yeah, I mean, I know y'all are all had about it, but we do need to remind everyone, so it won't be long, but we'll go ahead and put something on there. We'll give everybody a reminder.
Yeah, just something brief so when everybody's here, we can.
Try to.
Okay. Staff presentation on public hearing items. Is that anything else, or that's the public hearing?
So I would start with the first one. The first one is a public hearing required by the Texas Local Government Code for a final plat for Meridiana Section 32B, because it includes a partial replat of previously recorded plat. This is for a final plat of Section 32C, and it includes a portion of a replat of a previously recorded Meridiana Section 32B. This is a requirement from the Texas Local Government Code. That's why we've included the public hearing, and action item is included as part of the regular agenda.
On to the public hearing. To hear input from the public regarding a final plat of Meridiana Section 32C, which includes a proposal replat being a subdivision of 9.163 acres out of the Oliver Hall Survey Abstract 203 and the HT and BRR Company Survey Section 61 Abstract 282, also being a partial replat of Meridiana Section 32B final plat as recorded under Brazoria County Plat Records, document number 2023013762. Reason for replat is to combine portion of Lot 1, Block 1, with associated right-of-way of Meridiana Section 32B with unplatted acreage to create Lot 1, Block 1 of the proposed final plat of Meridiana Section 32C and to remove a utility easement. So we open this for the first call. 604. So do we have anybody for or against? second call, 6:05. And third call, closed at 6:05. Staff presentation on public hearing item.
So this public hearing is for a proposed rezoning of an approximate 35.3 acre tract of land. Is generally located at 9825 Masters Road, situated west of Chocolate Bayou and at the northeast corner of intersection of Cumulus Drive and Masters Road, from open single-family residential district to a PUD. The reason for this rezoning is so that this portion can be rezoned to a PUD and made part of the Meridiana PUD. They're adding this acreage to allow for garden home type residential product, which is allowed within the Meridiana PUD. Just so that you all know, the property is former PD&Z Commissioner Dorothy's property, and I see her in the audience as well. The applicant is here. Also, if you all have any questions on the proposed rezoning, the plan is to rezone this entire 35.3 acre tract to allow for garden homes, which would be a 50-foot wide lots, but it would still meet the minimum area requirement of our single-family residential district. It's allowed part of the allowance for this rezoning and the allowance for garden home type products was included in the last amendment to the Meridiana PUD, and this agenda also includes an item to amend the GDP to include this acreage if y'all are recommending approval to the City Council. And that is all I have on this one. It's a simple, straightforward inclusion to the Meridiana PUD. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
You said that they're 50-foot lots. What sizes are the houses?
We don't have that detail, but it is a product which is allowed within the Meridiana PUD. I don't know if the applicant has a specific answer on the square footage, if that's what you're looking for. The minimum requirement for our single-family residential district is 60-foot wide and 6,300 square foot lots, but these lots within Meridiana has been approved. Meridiana is allowed to have garden home product, which would be your 50-foot wide. However, the depth would be such that the area is at least 6,300. So area-wise, it's not different from the 60-foot wide lots that we require.
Thank you very much.
So they're might be narrower, but they're longer, basically?
They're longer with a little more backyard. And this would be the second section, I believe, with the garden home type products. The first section is what we have along Cruiser Road, which was previously approved.
Yeah, a lot of people call these townhomes versus garden homes. But my other thing is...
But these wouldn't be townhomes. These would be detached, individual, single-family homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're single family, they're just
That is correct.
Yeah,
less front.
but I thought they were only
less
allowed
front
in
yard.
certain areas as well of this subdivision.
I'm sorry, I
I
didn't
thought they
get
were
the...
only allowed in certain areas of this subdivision when it was platted.
So you may be remembering it from way back, but the most recent amendment to the PUD allowed this type of product, number one, and allowed for rezoning of land to be included within Meridiana and designated for this product.
Was that just with approval, or was that they could do at will?
No, this would be based on the approval of an amended GDP. Yes, that's correct. It's not allowed anywhere else. We already have a general development plan that was approved. They have to follow that. Any deviation from that needs to be approved through this process.
Also, there was a couple things that you were looking at. We don't have a traffic study and a flood drainage study.
Great.
What is the reason that we need to even look at it before those types of studies come to us?
So we do have a traffic impact analysis for the entire Meridiana right now.
But I mean, adding this, because this is new.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't part of the Meridiana, so now we're adding, basically, how many homes is this going to add? About 90 more homes? 80?
What is the exact number, Brad? Do you remember off the top of your head?
104.
104.
It's the current.
104 homes.
Yeah. And just to introduce myself, I think you all know me, Brad Schweitzer with the HRA. I am the applicant. Back to your question, Kyle, about the location.
I was trying to.
So there are specific land uses that are not permitted on the perimeter, and that's the townhome land use and the patio land use. And those are smaller lots.
That's what it, okay, I
Yeah.
couldn't remember.
Patio homes are
Yeah.
pretty good.
Right.
That's what I was,
And then the traffic study, so we did actually submit one this morning. So it was in the works, and so for Cumulus and for this new development.
So just to elaborate on the traffic piece, so Meridiana does have an approved master drainage plan and traffic impact analysis for the entire development, based on which the streets and the thoroughfares were determined and laid out. Now, this particular tract is located on Masters, which is a major thoroughfare, and also Cumulus Drive, from which it takes access, and it's a residential collector. Based on our preliminary review, what we felt is like we don't anticipate a lot of changes needed to the original plan, so that's why we allowed for a traffic memo to be submitted, and subsequently at the detailed platting stage, a more detailed amendment to the original traffic impact analysis would be included.
Well, this will have a dramatic effect to Masters because Cumulus hooks right there. If there's an on into Masters, that's just going to cause more and more traffic. We already have the school district using it with buses, and so the road is not that great of a road to begin with, and then to throw in 104 more homes dumping into it, or the possibility of that. I'd like to see the traffic report to see what they're predicting as far as traffic onto the road.
Correct, and that detail would be captured as part of the first preliminary plat that they submit. Right now, this would be just the designation of the land for the allowance of the garden home, based on the traffic memo.
How many homes were, prior to y'all changing it to the garden homes, do you know how many more homes this adds to that number?
So, it wasn't in the actual PUD district before, so there wasn't, it was
So
lots.
this wasn't going to be a part of your plan initially?
Right.
You acquired this land after the fact?
Well, Rise has not acquired the land yet, and so that's part of bringing it before this body is to make sure that it passes muster and everything's kind of by the book. So.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, what about the drainage study? Have you done that one as well?
So we have submitted a preliminary drainage plan to Joe's last week, I think. So we have done that, and we will submit an actual drainage impact analysis before our first plat is submitted, just because it has to work. Like, it has to work for the development as well. And so if it doesn't work, then we have to revise our plats. So we're working on a full study that'll be submitted to the drainage district in the city. But the preliminary drainage plan has been submitted, and our engineer feels good about it. So,
But it's going to be built up right next to that creek, so it's going to be built up, so the creek.
Yes.
Okay.
And part of what we're doing is we'll also expand. There's an existing detention pond there, Detention Pond U, and so we'll expand upon that. So we'll basically double the size of that detention pond that's there. U Phase 2 is what we'll call it. And also, the tract itself right now runs up to the center of Chocolate Bayou, and so we'll be dedicating an easement to the drainage district so that they can maintain it. Right now, they don't have an easement there to maintain it. So this will allow them to go in there and clear the bayou, do what they need to do to make sure that that bayou's running from the north all the way down to Masters.
Okay.
And back to your earlier question, we do not plan to have access on Masters. So there'll be 2 access points on Cumulus from this development, but no direct access to Masters.
Okay.
Cumulus comes off of Masters,
Yes, yeah.
so all the traffic would still stay in that part of the neighborhood? Is that what you're saying, kind of?
Our traffic memo that we submitted this morning indicates that there'd be some traffic that goes to Masters, but I think the majority of the traffic will head north to Meridiana Parkway and then either go east or west to Highway 288 or 6. And as part of this, we will also be dedicating right-of-way for Masters to bring it to the full width so that the county or the city can improve it at some point to widen it.
Anything else? On to the second public hearing now. To hear input from the public regarding a proposed ordinance 2025-0-18 of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning classification of 35.3 acres of land generally located at 9825 South Masters, PIDS 537, 539, and 619-349, situated west of Chocolate Bayou and at the northeast corner of intersection of Cumulus Drive and Masters Road from open single-family residential OSFR district to the Planned Unit Development PUD district for inclusion in the Meridiana Planned Unit Development, providing for the amending of the city's official zoning map, providing severability, and providing a penalty in the amount of not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provisions therefore. First call for or against? It's 6:16. Second call for or against? Third call for or against? We'll close the public hearing at 6:16. On to the consent agenda. Approve the minutes to date.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes to date on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Regular agenda, consideration and possible action to approve final plat for Meridiana Section 32C. Do I need to read this whole thing, Bobby?
Just the first part.
Okay, at that point, do we have any questions? You want me to read further?
So this is the final plat for which we had the public hearing. Staff is recommending approval with 4 conditions that are listed in the report. These are all minor and can be addressed after the conditional approval.
I'll make a motion with the restricted
4 conditions
added to it.
added to it.
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed? Passes 4-1. Item B, consideration and possible action to forward a recommendation of approval to council a subdivision variance request seeking to vary the requirements of Chapter 62, Section 108, to allow measurement of lot widths at front setback line at Chapter 62, Section 104. Questions or comments or anything?
I can go with a quick overview. This is a subdivision variance request for a proposed master plan for a development called Oakwood Trails. I'm sorry, I'm lost on this sheet here.
Oakwood Trails, yes.
Yeah, a subdivision called Oakwood Trails is generally located on the south side of Rodeo Parkway, east side of County Road 48, and it abuts the previously approved development Avellino, which is currently under construction. Tonight's agenda also includes a master plan for this proposed development. So in order for that master plan to be approved, the applicant has also requested these 2 variance requests, variance to 2 specific sections of the subdivision ordinance. So first request is the same item that we had at one of the previous meetings. It's about measuring the lot width at the building line instead of the right-of-way line, because this property is also within the ETJ. And staff is recommending approval of that, considering that it would allow for better layout of lots and follow the standard practice that we have within the city limits. The other request is to vary from the minimum requirements of Section 104.5, 104.5, which is a requirement for multiple access points to residential subdivisions. The minimum requirement is 2 points of access for a maximum of 75 platted lots, 3 points of access for lots ranging between 76 to 175 plat lots, and 4 points for anything over 175 platted lots. This subdivision, this proposed development would include a total of, I believe, 413 residential lots, if I'm correct. And these would be developed in 3 phases. The first phase would include a Section 1 and Section 2, and the access would be off of Rodeo Palms Parkway and County Road 48. And what's happening is, until Section 3 is included, they will not be able to get 3 points of access because during the third phase, there will be so many lots which exceed that threshold. However, once the third section is added and further development happens, since we can count when the fourth access point is triggered, the boulevard entry on Rodeo Palms Parkway can be counted as 4 points of access based on this very section, and it would not create any issues in terms of access because you have those 3 points of access. 1 connects to Avellino, 2 counted from Rodeo Palms Parkway, and 1 on County Road 48. Now, if you notice on the master plan, Kirby Drive, which is supposed to go south, this property owner, this developer doesn't have a lot of control on when Kirby would connect to Highway 6, and there's a property which is in the middle which is missing right now, and we do not have a timeline on it. So all of those kind of contributes towards the hardship part of considering the subdivision variance. And based on all those facts that are included associated with this proposed development and the general area, staff is recommending approval of the 2 requested variants. And the applicant is here tonight, if you all have any questions of them. I know it's a little difficult with the phases and different sections and when the triggers happen. In a nutshell, the first 2 sections would meet the minimum requirements of the 2 connections. Now, when the third section is added, that's when it'll be able to meet the third access point required after Section 2, I believe. So temporarily, Section 2 will not have the third access. But once the other sections are built out, counting the boulevard entry, it will meet the minimum requirement, if that makes sense.
Blue water? Not blue water, is it?
Well, my thing on this is still back to fire and EMS. It's even PD, you have all that access. I understand that Kirby Drive goes right through there looking at this map. I just wonder why it isn't connecting back to Kirby, even though, do y'all own that middle slot?
No, that's not owned by, the middle area
They
is
don't
not
own-
owned by this developer.
Somebody else owns that middle?
That is
That's what I was trying to figure out here. I couldn't tell who
Yeah.
actually owns that.
And that piece is not part of this development.
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay.
I'm sorry, can you introduce?
Yes, my name is Ashley Wagner. I'm with EHRA Engineering. I'm the applicant for this development.
Okay, I have a question, and you may have said it, I just don't think I heard it. Are y'all going to do anything with Kirby or have any input of, are you going to help construct it? Or are y'all just going to leave land open for Kirby?
We're planning on constructing the pavement. That's within our project boundary. However, we don't have control over when the rest of that gets developed.
So you'll do what's part of your development?
Correct.
Okay.
So what's the lot width part? Explain, I'm trying to go back and find there's a part about the lot width.
So the minimum lot width requirement within ETJ is measured from the right-of-way. Now, within our city limits, however, the lot width is measured from the building setback line, which would be further in. So for, say, cul-de-sac lots and lots on a knuckle, it all of a sudden it'll become a weird shape, much wider if it is measured at the right-of-way. So the request is to allow the same thing that we do in the city limits to measure the lot width at the setback line.
Okay.
And just a note, I mean, this is part of that subdivision subdivision ordinance amendment that just went through.
Right.
We are making sure that it's consistent in the city limit as well as ETJ.
Okay, because this is in the ETJ, is what you're saying?
That is correct.
Yeah.
So the Rodeo Palm Parkway, will that link up then the frontage road and the, what is it, 40 County Road
Roy?
48? Yeah.
Or develop?
Will that parkway go all the way through from one side to the other, or is that just from 288 basically?
So Rodeo Palms Parkway will be completed once Manvel Palms completes their section. That, I believe their project is what connects to CR 48.
Okay.
So we will pave what's within our boundary of Rodeo Palms Parkway.
And link it to that, okay.
So since this question came up, just so that y'all are aware, as part of the subdivision requirement, they're required to dedicate land as well as construct roads within the development as well as on the periphery. So in this situation, like Ashley mentioned on Rodeo Palms, their responsibility is only limited to their acreage that'll have frontage on that right-of-way. Now, staff is in discussion, and we're looking at when and how Manvel Palms will proceed, which is that development on the north side. It's been halted for a while for multiple reasons, and we'll see how we can make the connection and have the project go through.
So is the city responsible for the southernmost part of Kirby Drive, south of where this development is going, right there off of Highway 6?
So technically, the entire Kirby Drive is supposed to be developed as properties develop. And we do not have any plans on the books right now to make that extension. It would be incrementally done as developments happen.
I mean, because is that counting what they're anticipating one of their exit points would be? Is Kirby Drive?
Kirby Drive on the north.
No, on the south part.
On the south part, eventually, when the connection is made, it would definitely be a connection, but right now, that's not being counted.
No, we only need 4 points of access.
Right. I just feel, I mean, I'm just thinking long-term, from the perspective, you're going to, go and add 413 houses, and then you're going to have that other neighborhood, Avellino or whatever that one. How many houses is in that one? That one's smaller, isn't it? I think.
It's smaller, I
Yeah.
believe.
And I know that that's not their responsibility. I'm just wondering on our end, from the city's perspective, it looks like both of those are going to come down. You're going to add, 500 homes onto that Kirby Drive. If
So-
that's going to eventually become an exit point also.
Correct. So basically, based on our review, it seems like it wouldn't have significant detrimental impact, considering the fact that in future some of these connections would be developed.
Yeah. Because is it commercial south of them, right there off of Highway 6?
Yes, south would be south.
Right there, like
So-
Highway 6 and
So
Kirby,
north
where
of
that
Highway
would be.
6, you mean, right? That's the Manvel Town Center.
Right. But then to the west of that, is that still commercial? Right there on Highway 6, to the west of the town center?
We haven't decided anything
Okay.
because some of those portions are in the ETJ. We've had some meetings on some developments, but nothing has got to a stage where it's a project right now.
Well, the demand, once these houses go, the demand will be there.
And along Highway 6, what
commercial.
we would like to see is mostly commercial.
Okay.
I'm sorry, one more question. I just want to make sure. So will your neighborhood have access to Rodeo Palms roads? Or do y'all just go straight up to Rodeo Parkway? Because that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
But where DeBello, where Keating Toyota is, that's going to be an underpass, and that goes straight right into Rodeo Palms. And you guys are on the other side, but you're saying you're just going to go straight up to the Parkway?
Our boulevard will connect to Rodeo Palms Parkway, which will be developed. The pavement will be developed. We're paving our portion of Rodeo Palms Parkway, so it's connecting to what's already currently there. So it'll be a
But
connected
y'all aren't
road to the east.
Connecting any roads that are in Rodeo Palms to your road, other than the Parkway? You see what I'm saying? Because you have, okay,
That is correct.
And that
Yeah.
parkway goes all the way out to 288.
right. But then you have the underpass at Bello and Rodeo Palms Road or Rodeo
Right.
Road. So that's why I was wondering, that would be two ways to go. So, okay.
Anything else? We have a motion?
Is there conditions on that?
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. On item C, consideration of possible action to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for Oakwood Trails Master Plan, being a subdivision of 175.2 acres out of the HT and BRR County Survey, Section 71, A291, City of Manvel, ETJ, Missouri County, Texas.
So this is the master plan for the Oakwood Village, Oakwood Trails. And they're proposing a total of 413 residential lots. We just had the agenda item for their subdivision variances. Now the variances would take effect when we have a development agreement signed, which was also included as an exhibit on the packet. Staff reviewed the master plan. Once the master plan is approved, they still have to go through their preliminary plat and the final plat. Staff has included a total of 5 conditions based on which we are recommending approval. Now, the master plan will go to the City Council for approval, so you will be forwarding a recommendation so that the City Council can act on it. With the subdivision variance item, that would be one more item that would be included, that if the subdivision variances are approved by the City Council. Now, since we didn't know if it'll be a recommendation of approval or not, we would want to include that additional condition as well for the City Council to consider.
Joe, on this, the third recommendation is the proof of drainage and submit to the appropriate drainage district, section 62-38. Why isn't that done first? I mean, is it because we have to say, okay, yes, it will approve it as long as that's done? Is it the cart before the horse, I guess, is what I'm saying?
So this is a master plan. So after this, there will be a preliminary plat and then a final plat as well, even before they create these lots and start construction. Now, some of these reviews from different entities take time. I mean, we do our reviews too, and we do most of them at the preliminary plat stage. So while they are getting those things processed, it's beneficial to keep the process moving forward. So that's the reason why we are allowing this as a condition, so that it's already in the review. What my understanding is that it's already been submitted and they're waiting on hearing from the district. So that's the primary reason. I don't know if I answered your question, but the goal is to help things move forward while multiple things are going on. Because this itself is not, like, this approval is not it. You have your preliminary plat for each section, and then your construction plan approval, and then your final plat approval. So by allowing this conditional approval, we're saving a little bit of time.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the drainage stuff, the holdup, is due to the county. They only meet like once a month. So they could be in the middle of something now and then not see it until the next month. And I don't know what, they meet the first of the month, I don't know what day they meet.
I'm not 100% sure about that.
That could be a kickback on some of the stuff we're dealing with as well, so.
So basically, we could approve something, but then it gets caught up.
Yeah, they could
and
have
never
it right
gets-
now, and we don't know it until it comes back to the city after they approve it, after their meeting, and
Then it has to come back to us again.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
so this way, if something's approved on that contingent, they can move forward.
And then it also leaves it open that if they don't do it, they don't get it.
Yes, yeah.
What is the time limit on that to get these recommendations?
So Technically, there's no time limit. It's up to them. The Texas Local Government Code doesn't require that they respond within a certain time frame, so it's up to them.
Do we have any more questions, a motion?
Well, I just want to make one little correction. I think I did mention that we would have to add a comment, but the condition's already included about the variance request.
Yeah.
So it's already included in there.
I'll make a recommendation to approve based on with the conditions.
I second it.
All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. Consideration and possible action to move to forward a final report recommending approval of City Council amending the zoning classification of 35.3 acres of land generally located at 9825 South Masters, PIDS 537, 539, and 619349.
So this is the item for which we also had that other public hearing. It's related to Meridiana. It's the rezoning item that we just talked about. It's adding land to the Meridiana PUD for allowing them to have garden home residential product, which is also defined in the Meridiana PUD. Staff is recommending approval on this one, and be requesting that you forward a positive recommendation to the City Council.
Well, I really want to see the drainage and the traffic report before I could, in good faith, vote for this. So I would motion to table this until the board has an opportunity to look at those things. Because I really do think that Masters is going to be bombarded with another 104 homes, and Cumulus, it's going to get dumped out on Cumulus, and you can go north and run into problems on the Meridiana Parkway, or you can turn left and go on Masters, and I think it's going to, it's not going to be received well. I would like to see that that traffic report, especially, as well as the drainage. Yes,
Yeah, 9825 South Masters.
yes.
If I can get you to come up to the podium.
I'm Willis Boyce, and I own the property directly across 9803 Masters Road. And the beauty of that area is that horse ranch. And I'm opposed to any more houses being built over there. And I just wanted that to be known.
Yeah, like I said, since it was proposed, Meridiana was proposed, but that horse ranch was not a part of that. There's some more land there also that could be available for sale for the developers of Meridiana, but we have to reassess Masters as well as the drainage when you start adding that stuff. And that's, you know, that's 75 or 35 acres that, again, I'm going to recommend a motion to table it until we get those studies in and available.
And how long would that be?
Well, I think that was said that they were turned in today.
So we had a memo that was turned in today, but they're also working on a detailed traffic impact analysis.
So our next meeting is going to be the,
I have a question.
12th.
Are you looking for more clarification on this as well?
yes.
What about the drainage, though? So I know that he said they submitted a traffic report, but what about drainage?
Drainage I was concerned about.
So drainage was also submitted. However, there'll be a detailed study that will be looked at the plating stage. And based on what was submitted, we don't anticipate any significant impact because there's going to be on-site detention, and it's also part of the entire Meridiana system.
So the drainage is not going to be heavily impacted, but the traffic will be.
No, that's not what we're saying. Regarding traffic, there's been a memo that was submitted. Staff has reviewed it. Staff is not anticipating significant impact based on the memo that was provided, and the fact that there's an existing traffic impact analysis for Meridiana, which will need to be worked on and amended at the planning stage if there is any significant impact that comes out of the analysis. So based on that, this rezoning part of it, which is saying that this land can be included as part of the Meridiana PUD, staff is recommending approval. However, if the commissioners would like to see a more detailed traffic impact analysis reviewed and approved by by staff before you make a decision, staff is okay with that.
But there's not going to be an exit onto Masters Road. I think that was our biggest concern. There's no.
Well,
So it's not taking directly access from Masters.
It's still gonna
However,
access on
from
Masters
Cumulus, you
Road,
can
yes.
get it.
From Comalis, it's still going to be impacted. That's like the same thing when they built the stadium. Masters Road wasn't supposed to be impacted, but whenever there's anything at that stadium, I find I get hell going into my place.
Yes.
And again, Kyle, you're the chair to basically direct, recognize who can speak or not. And we're a little bit out of
sorry.
order because he missed the public hearing on this where you should have given his input at that time. And I know you recognized him to come up and say, but I didn't know where that now because we have a motion to table.
That's
Hasn't
why I
been
was-
seconded yet, but I didn't know if we want to address the motion to table first before you recognize anybody else because it's already past the time for.
But you set a precedent by letting someone come up and speak.
The precedent is the chair's up to the chair. That was at the beginning of the meeting, and
I like to hear from Dorothy.
Did I speak out of turn? If I did, I apologize.
no, I'm just saying is that the proper time would have been, but he can recognize you. He can
Okay. I
recognize
apologize if I spoke out of
Dorothy.
turn.
He can
You're
recognize.
good, because I am going to let Dorothy talk.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah. So I think it's fair for everybody, and maybe even some information that we don't know.
Right.
So, but yeah. But yeah, at this time, if we can get Dorothy to come up and take the vote.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Dorothy, would you go ahead and state your full name and address? And yes, ma'am.
Dorothy Wynn, 9825 Masters Road. And we're under contract. And I would like to point out that we are surrounded by Meridiana. It only makes sense for it to go in. There was exits put onto Cumulus Drive when this was first replatted for drainage that goes through my property. So the drainage is already there. If you know anything about Brazoria County, they cannot, our property has been positively impacted by the drainage that's put in. I suspect that's only going to get better. I can't afford to dig out the back half of the property so that the water flows. I fear that will be a big problem. I can't afford to it, but they can. As far as the traffic's here. It's not getting any better. I drive here all the time. It's not getting any better. You're not going to stop it, but you are going to empty it onto Cumulus. If I had an exit onto Cumulus, I wouldn't use Masters ever. It's a difficult road to get on. It's only 2 lanes. It's not, the trees aren't cut down. Would I love to stay? Sure, but you'd have to stop letting people come in altogether. So the traffic study that's probably already been submitted is probably spot on. That's why they're going to empty it into the already existing roads that I have 2 exits from my property that could be used. And it was set up the last time it was redone and they platted around me and the drainage was put in. The drainage is there. All they're going to do is make it better. So I know you can't see that, but I've been here and on this commission for 13 years. I've watched this development around me for 21 years. So Brazoria County has already taken into effect the drainage. You want to wait, I'm not trying to stop you from waiting, but these studies that you're asking for happen after the land use is approved and added in. If you look at the map, I'm right in the middle. There's nothing, I can't get bigger, I can't get smaller, and I cannot expand. So it makes sense in my mind, otherwise I'd stay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy.
So we have a motion.
Yeah, to table until we get a chance to look at these studies.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? So- Does this go back open, or is it this?
It was a 3-2 fails?
Yeah.
4? Okay.
So then it comes back next time? Or does it have to get put back on?
The motion is a table, Phil, but you can actually vote on the
Oh,
underlying.
okay. Okay.
Which is, without a tabling, now you're ready to vote on it now. To say if you want to approve what's submitted before you or not.
So we can either make a new motion
To approve,
or leave it as is.
or you can make no motion and move on, which doesn't really do anything.
I'll make a motion to approve with his conditions.
No, there is no
Oh, okay.
conditions.
Then I'll just make a motion to approve.
We have a second?
I'll
I'll-
second.
All in favor? All opposed?
So now what do we do, Bobby?
Motion is failed, they didn't get the full votes,
So,
the votes needed, so it's not approved, it's failed.
so it goes that way to council, and they will make a decision. Okay. Okay, on to item E then. Consideration and possible action to forward recommendation to approve to the city council Meridiana General Development Plan Amendment Number 24.
Now, this is associated with the same project. It's Meridiana General Development Plan Amendment, and they're requesting to amend the General Development Plan to include this acreage that was proposed for rezoning. So since we don't have a motion to approve the rezoning, this, I don't know how this would have an effect. I guess it would be best to y'all to take an action, but what would happen is this goes to the city council with the same recommendation. These are both interrelated, so it's a little difficult how to kind of separate them.
They're separate on the agenda, so they can vote it up or down, just like the last one, and one could go with a positive recommendation, one could go without a recommendation, but they can still vote on it on this particular one.
However, it can go both ways, but I want y'all to be aware that this is an extension of the rezoning. Currently, the property is zoned open single family, so it doesn't allow for the product that they are proposing. And the General Development Plan Amendment is considering allowance of the garden home type product.
Yeah, so, and just yeah, am I recognized?
Very good.
So our intention with the rezoning request and the general development plan and the plats that have been submitted for these, the preliminary plats that have been submitted for these, are to bring them forward to Planning Commission and to City Council to receive feedback, but to hold on final approval until we get until the property is closed on by the developer. And so really what's generated from tonight is we want comments and feedback, but we're okay with a deferral or tabling things if we need, and some of the things that you're asking for, like we've already presented them, you haven't had time to review them.
Right.
And so that's fine. So not sure, with the previous motion failing, don't know if we're going to just go ahead and request a deferral anyways. That way we can kind of have them right together with a positive motion. or if we just need to make that case to City Council when it's presented next week.
Brett, since the other item will have to go to the city council, it would make sense for this to go with it.
Yeah.
Since they are kind of.
If one's going forward, okay.
So in that case,
We need to make a motion.
would it be
and make a
better to
decision.
table this
You
one?
just said it's better to put them all together because the other one's going to go regardless because we already voted on it.
Yes, and that's what I
So-
said, and if you table this one, it'll come back with the other one, I'm assuming. Or no, council
No, the other one has to go to
approve or
the-
deny the other one. So then, yeah, this one has to be
It needs
either.
to go positive or negative, either
Yeah.
way.
Well, can I, so the zoning needs 2 public hearings, but the general development plan only needs 1. So would it be appropriate to not?
But the general development plan is like the master plan, the
Right.
plat component, which has those timelines associated with it.
Will it be approvable without the zoning in place next week at City Council is what I'm getting at? Like, does it not need to go to City Council because it can only, it's either acted on or not acted on, we're not going to defer it? That makes sense?
I mean, you can defer it, and then the plan can happen later on. That's the applicant's
Well, I guess
decision.
restate my question. So when it goes to City Council next week, is it possible to be approved without the second public hearing being taken place for the zoning?
Oh, you're talking about the 2 readings.
For
So
the
the
gen-
second
for
public hearing
general
happens
plan.
the next meeting.
Right.
And for the general development plan, I'm not sure if I understand your question.
I think because the ordinance is going to take 2 readings, this doesn't necessarily have to go to council together with the first reading. This one could be deferred.
But we have a public hearing scheduled for the zoning, but yeah, not for the general development plan.
Right.
And if you would like to defer the general development plan, it wouldn't be a problem, I guess, if that's the question. Yeah.
Understand the first reading, you wouldn't be able to go with it, but the second reading, if the first reading is approved, if you want to do the second reading, then this could catch up.
Okay, yeah, because I think that's how we're going to proceed with the remainder, with the 2 plats also, is have them go with the second hearing. So if we could defer this item basically to where it can ride with the final zoning approval. That way, again, you guys have time to review the documents that you want to review.
Thank you.
To motion to table and go from there.
Make a
I make a
motion to
motion.
table.
I second that.
All in favor? Okay, on to item F. Presentation and discussion on comprehensive plan update and major thoroughfare plan update by Keating Keast Collaborative. So, yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. This is the 3rd workshop for the comprehensive plan update and the thoroughfare plan update. You'll hear less of me today. I'm Jennifer Mack. I'm the architect and senior urban designer with Kinder Keys Collaborative. Tonight I have here with me Gary Mitchell, the president and project manager of Kinder Keys Collaborative, and then also have James Andrews, the project manager of ARC Engineers, and Alfonso Morales, the project manager for Consor Engineers. We'll be hitting some of the highlights tonight from the growth capacity section, the transportation section, and then the major thoroughfare plan. Some of the key notable changes for the major thoroughfare plan. Before I turn it over to James, just want to go over a little bit about why the growth capacity matters. It's to ensure the utility, drainage, and public safety systems can support the projected growth. So looking at the growth implications, so together with the land use and community character section, focusing on the anticipated scale and direction of growth in and around Manvel in the coming decades and what this will mean for the city's ability to provide essential public services and infrastructure. Maximizing investments, coordinating public investment with land use and development decisions, and then laying the groundwork for strategic, sustainable growth. So looking at the growth guidance and help guiding growth toward preferred areas and foster revitalization. And then, so some of the goals for the growth capacity section is phased expansion of city utilities and services. So selective conversion of municipal utility districts, infrastructure to city responsibility, where prudent for Manvel's growth capacity and for promoting a unified community across Manvel's overall jurisdiction. Reliable long-term water supply, surface and groundwater, resilience against flooding and natural hazards, long-term maintenance of infrastructure assets, and strategic partnerships and funding leverage. So the pursuit of wide-ranging partnership and advocacy opportunities to leverage local dollars and expand Manvel's access to external funding sources. So with that, I'll ask James Andrews to come and talk to you about the strategic priorities that we're proposing.
You showed me how to change the slides.
Oh, I was just doing the arrows.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's James Andrews. I'm with ARC Engineers. I'm a principal. We do civil municipal engineering work, and I think that's why Gary wanted us on his team. So I'm going to go through a few strategic priorities with you that we've identified. Manvel's, as this slide shows, Manvel's water system is in a very strong position. You having earned a superior rating from TCEQ. You are actively investing in long-term capacity through elevated storage, SCADA upgrades, and possible partnerships with Pearland for surface water, and potentially actually owning your own surface water plant that's being discussed. At issue is really how to fund these major programs. Quite a bit of money has been identified for water systems in the city. Let's see. All right. Wastewater-wise, on that side, you're, as you know, building a $40 million wastewater treatment plant that is the largest in Manvel's history. It's designed to grow with your city, of course, from 1 to 5 million gallons per day. Lift station upgrades and public education campaigns are underway to help maintain the system integrity. And you are also tackling system vulnerabilities like inflow and infiltration, and also discussing future reuse strategies, which may or may not come into play. This particular slide discusses drainage and flood resilience. Flooding remains one of your most important pressing concerns. There was a drainage master plan that was done that I'm sure many of you are aware of that identified $125 million of drainage improvements around the city. It gave you a roadmap of what really needed to be done. And it identified projects like Acre Lake Detention Facility that are very crucial for drainage, overall drainage in the city. Also, transitioning to Atlas 14 rainfall data will help ensure your system is future ready. That's what everybody is adhering to now, and it's actually more rainfall for certain events, like the 100 years is additional rainfall. So your systems are going to be affected that were designed to the old criteria. So that's something that you've got to consider. And then, of course, continuing strategy includes strengthening your partnerships with GCWA, the TxDOT, and the county for regional coordination and cost sharing. This slide is a little bit too busy for anybody to read, but it actually has several action items on it. Your growth capacity strategy should also address drainage beyond those detention projects, and I think it does. There are drainage limitations with the Gulf Coast Water Authority canal system, which actually is not designed for stormwater, but receives runoff from the city of Manvel. And coordination with GCWA is key to managing flow, improving outfalls, and then mitigating any backflow that comes into your system when those canals are full. priority 5 up here is continuing focus on your ditch drain streets, evaluate citywide conditions, improve maintenance routines, and then enclose those open ditches when feasible. Priority 6, consider possibly joining FEMA's community rating system. That could lower insurance premiums for all the citizens that have flood insurance. And simply by enhancing public awareness, you can pursue CRS entry and increase the community's flood resilience. As Manvel grows, integrating municipal utility districts should be investigated for consistent service standards. Developing a policy framework that evaluates each MUD's infrastructure, financial health, and capability is important. It's a lengthy process to do this. It takes several years, but the goal is a long-term efficiency and equity in the utility service delivery. Now I'll turn it back over to Gary. Thank you.
Evening, Commissioners. So, big picture, I know we're giving you a lot of details, but capturing things that the city is already doing, the specialized master plans that are already in place for water, wastewater, drainage. The comprehensive plan is kind of the whole enchilada, the big picture of the city, looking over the next several decades. Manvel is in better shape in many ways than some small cities we've worked with that are getting hit with this amount of growth. You certainly have municipal utility districts that are handling some of the infrastructure load. But the next slide is actually another aspect of growth capacity. That's your public safety services. So again, you're already making the investment to upgrade facilities, new police facility in the pipeline. So I guess the point being, as we look the next 10, 20 years through this comprehensive plan, it's never ending. With that upward growth trajectory, you've got all the infrastructure needs that are ahead, but your public safety services are always going to need to be supplemented. And frankly, it's one of your most labor-intensive parts of city budgets. It's staffing plus equipment, trucks, vehicles, so everything that comes with it. But in any survey we do, and as we did here, public safety is top of the list for residents. So this will always be a priority, but we just want to highlight that police and fire, EMS is certainly part of the mix as well when we talk about growth capacity. So bring you back to what you do in your meetings every month. We're looking down the road, but it's tying together, as Jennifer said, infrastructure considerations. We're going to talk about transportation here shortly. Then we'll bring in the land use aspect as well. All the ways that these three pieces work together. So your city, even as a smaller city, is already doing capital improvement planning methodically, planning for facilities, for your infrastructure improvements, and then, as James touched on, the possibility over time that some of the utility districts become part of the city takes on that responsibility. So I'm going to switch gears here to transportation, and we meant to say up front, please stop us anywhere along the way. If you have questions for us, I know there was more detail in the packet, so those are the drafts that we're actually working and putting together the draft plan. We're still going to be talking about things like parks and some of the other topics that have come up from your residents. So this is kind of the foundation. Infrastructure, transportation, land use are the big three. So just want to give you an opportunity before we roll into the transportation topic. All right, we'll keep moving. So eventually we're going to get to a series of slides here where we'll take the current thoroughfare plan map and then put the proposed next to it, but look in smaller pieces around the city and the ETJ, look at it in more detail. But big picture, again, we talked about why growth capacity is important for the city. Certainly, as was mentioned in some of your conversations tonight, emergency access, but also just different ways for people to get around the community, that there's not just one way to get somewhere. And of course, as population grows, as traffic grows, fewer roads carrying more traffic is going to be the challenge over time. So if we can have a good network different ways to get places, and just that redundancy for emergency situations. If certain roads are closed down, trees down, whatever, blocking a roadway, that there's different ways to get there. Just like on infrastructure, another part of what we do that's not just the city's responsibility. You're tied into regional systems, national, interstate systems, so transportation cuts across all levels of government. So in this section as well, we have some goals, and again, these are kind of paraphrased. The full wording is in the packet, but there's that connectivity theme, whether it's roads, sidewalks, or trails for bikes and pedestrian. We use the word opportunistic, and MTP is the major thoroughfare plan, whether it's, as we've talked about tonight, increments of roadways, or as individual developments happen, you start to build that system. As somebody asked, would something potentially be a public project? Sometimes it's done at the county level. Sometimes the city puts in a portion of a roadway, but at this point, it's mostly as private development is occurring. But then just your ongoing maintenance of what you have, just as with your infrastructure, just maintaining the streets and sidewalks that are already here. But there's also a goal definitely on safety as one of the themes of the transportation section. And then again, there's that regional coordination and partnerships aspect. The way this works is so much funding, we hope, continues to flow from the federal level to TxDOT. If you're familiar with the Houston Galveston Area Council, HGAC, at a regional level, that's where a lot of transportation funding is allocated across the region. So Manvel needs to be in the mix of those discussions and get your fair share. That's also in partnership with Brazoria County. So some of the big takeaways here, as we turn to the major thoroughfare plan map, in each of the plan sections, we're calling out some, quote, strategic priorities, things to focus on in the near term. So this first one is, when you look at that entire map, all those lines on the map of roads that are already there or might be built in the future, what are some near-term priorities? Some things that struck us is, for anybody who takes Croy, right east of 288, you know the 90-degree turns. There is a line on the thoroughfare plan map to eventually make that a smooth roadway, so that could be an early priority. In general, anything around the 288 corridor on the thoroughfare plan is a priority, because that's where so much growth is happening, so many rooftops being added. So there's a north-south aspect to that. Manvel Parkway, of course, on the east side, but then Kirby Drive as it starts to be connected over time. And then east-west connections as well. As we'll see tonight as we go through the map, there's connections that you just can't make. I mean, ideally you would like to connect the roadway network better. It's just not going to happen practically. It could be floodplain, it's existing development, it's sensitivities like that, where schools are located, where cemeteries are located, all those kind of things. So, and then the final item there is just as we've talked about again tonight, just trying to preserve right of way, whether the road's going to be built immediately or sometime down the road. Priority 2 is that emphasis on management of what you have. And actually, I was going to ask James to touch on this one, because these are some of the things that you wrote up for us.
Yes, as Gary mentioned, this is more maintenance than anything else, but you've got to maintain your infrastructure to, for it to last. And the city staff uses a pavement condition index that is to prioritize their road projects that include converting the gravel roads to pavement and improving school zone safety and sidewalks, and also signals. And the city's also looking into increasing the width of many of their streets. So you've got a lot in front of you. The rehabilitation and maintenance of your streets and conversion of those gravel roads is upwards of $34 million. So it's an expensive proposition. And then widening to a 26-foot wide width is probably about the same amount. So it's going to be one of those things that you just have to systematically go through and prioritize each one of those projects. So, thank you.
Thank you, James. And I just want to emphasize that first point because, again, for a city at this stage of growth and still being relatively small, the fact that you're using that system to monitor your roadways is very important. I'm not the engineer in the room, and in layman's terms, sometimes you think that road is in awful shape. That should be first priority. Really, when you use the index system, it's the ones that aren't there yet, that those are the ones to focus on so they don't go over the tipping point where it's a major reconstruction project. So it's balancing limited resources with all the things you need to maintain. So the third one is similar in terms of managing what you have, and this term transportation system management is a whole approach in the transportation world, just using technology, your signal systems, and maintaining traffic flows and safety. There's a movement across the country in recent years called Vision Zero, which is, when you look at the numbers, it's just incredible the number of deaths and injuries that we deal with in this country just in everyday travel. And so there's an effort to, ideally, could we bring that down to zero, but especially focusing on pedestrian accidents and slowing traffic. So sidewalk and bike infrastructure, again, we have to prioritize everything we do with limited resources. So certainly around school areas, park areas as the community grows. The final one is just kind of a philosophy one again, that try and coordinate your utility and your roadway work so you're dig once and take care of multiple things at the same time, and as you're doing drainage work as well. So we're going to switch gears here to the Major Thoroughfare Plan map, and so some of the things that we observed about the current map, or in general about the Thoroughfare Plan, is it's certainly a reflection of how Manvel is growing, where it's growing, the development pattern that's emerging. We did have some early meetings with Brazoria County staff and with TxDOT just to compare notes about what they're doing at their level. Brazoria County has its own Major Thoroughfare Plan, so that's a consideration. Just since the last update of the plan, there are several roads that are completed, and if you've had a chance to look at the map, there's always the solid lines, which are roads that are there, they're built, and then there's dash lines. There's kind of an area in between where it may be an existing road, but as you know, it's not to the full width that ultimately, ideally, it would be to handle future traffic. Anytime we do these exercises, we certainly have to think about water crossings, bridges, added cost, floodplain. But when you look at the map, I don't have to preach to the choir here. Y'all know how Manvel at certain points, the whole orientation of properties shifts in a different direction. So that affects why we have roads like Del Bello and others that come to a point and then turn. And so following the landscape and the property pattern. But, even us as relative newcomers to Manvel, we can see the opportunities that were lost over time. We've talked internally with staff about when the high school was built, great location, right out on the highway, but Lewis and other streets that could have continued. You're always looking for parallel roadways to your major roadways. So again, a relief route, another way to get places. And then finally, that last point, just within the last few years, among other things, the state is up to, they kind of changed the rules of the game for right-of-way dedication. I think you're in a good spot with some of your master plan developments that it's in their interest to have good access to their developments and to property, so that's why dedication happens. But it's not as easy to require dedication. There's language, and it's in the packet material. If it's not a project that's already in the pipeline through the county, through the city, through some funding mechanism to be built, and if the property owner is on board that wants that project, it's not as easy as it was in the past. So that's one of our challenges. Again, bringing it back to what this commission does, you are certainly looking at these alignments as you look at plats and development plans. You're seeing it in your large-scale master plan developments, but also smaller subdivisions. You've talked about access points tonight and multiple points of access, again, for emergency access, different ways to connect. So those are all things that we consider. Again, this is where your growth, your safety considerations, which were top of the list in our public input early in the project, and then the regional connections as well, but making sure your community is tied in to the regional system, 288, of course, being upgraded through the area. So after all that preview, we'll switch to the map now, and so we'll have 2021, the current adopted map, always on the left, the latest draft, and this draft is a working draft. It continues to evolve as we have discussions with you, with staff, and look at different considerations. One thing I want to point out is the version that is in your packet and that is in the presentation tonight, there was one change that was made since then. It actually came up tonight, Rodeo Drive between Croy down to Rodeo Palms Parkway, and then on the map, there's a dashed extension of that down to Kirby, kind of in the Manvel Town Center area. We had put that on the map at one point. It's back off the map. It's going to show up on the map tonight. The latest map, it's off the map, and for various reasons. So as we get to that.
The dash part is what you're saying? The dash part from Del Bello down to Kirby?
And the Rodeo Drive existing portion is also taken off.
Okay.
Wanted to focus on the legend first and just refresh on the different types of roadways. Limited access is 288. It's same as the county designation for a freeway that only has interchanges. You can only get on and off at certain points. Major thoroughfare is only Highway 6. So that's how that shows up on the map. Parkway is largest in terms of right-of-way along with Highway 6, so it is meant to be your larger roadways, although with that Parkway designation, it's thinking about multi-use, that you could have a generous trail path on the side, shared use, could be bike, pedestrian, landscaping, medians, so that's part of the right-of-way consideration. Arterials are kind of the next step down. And as we look at some of the specific examples, we can talk about that more. It's kind of going from your roadways that are meant to move traffic, move it longer distances, higher speeds, working down to the collector level where it's more about getting to neighborhoods, getting to shopping, more of a local function. So that's kind of that spectrum of roadways. We did add to the map the grade, fancy term, grade separated interchanges at your overpasses along 288. We're calling those out on the map. So since those are there now or in construction. And this note on the map, this came up at our last meeting for those that were here. We're actually thinking to take this note off the map. In discussion with Bobby, it's worked fine in the past to not have a note like this. The bottom line point that we mentioned last time is just as we look at lines on the map, there's some that will change, and they change through the development review and approval process, then they get changed on the map. So, and that's usually the lines that are out kind of in the middle of nowhere right now. They're not existing roads, and they're not necessarily following property lines in some cases. So as development does their more detailed planning, look at drainage, those considerations, the lines may shift, have that discussion with the city. It gets approved. It may be in a development agreement. It's on a plat. The MTP map gets amended to reflect what's actually been decided. So that's just the only caveat. Sometimes there's lines on the future map, the dash lines, that may change to some extent, but that's worked out through the development approval process. So I'm going to have Alfonso come up, and we may kind of tag team on some of these. But again, we'll take you through small sections of the map.
Sure. My name's Alfonso with Consular Engineers again. Thank you all. So some of the notable changes that we have done to the thoroughfare map, just keep in mind the 2021 will be on your left, the proposed plan will be on your right. So we adjusted the old Massey Ranch Road to follow its existing alignment with the jog out of the old Chocolate Bayou Road, rather than a new segment previously shown east of Old Chocolate Bayou Road that would have eliminated the jog and provided a smoother alignment. Another notable changes will be the removal of an eastward extension of Croy Road past Del Velo Road to the eastern city limits, eventually connecting to a northward extension of the Cemetery Road. as the alignment did not follow any existing roadway and will have impacted numerous properties and existing residents. We also adjusted the north end of Patterson Road alignment to continue in on a northerly easterly direction and eventually connect to another existing segment of Patterson at Old Massey Ranch Road. This removed a previously shown northward turn of the Patterson alignment that would have connected instead to Old Chocolate Bayou Road, north towards Bailey Road. Another adjustment was Pollard Boulevard alignment to continue straight north of Croy Road, once north of Del Bello Boulevard, rather than a previously northeasterly curve that would have connected Pollard to Del Bello Road.
I just want to mention on these, as we're showing you these, the connections that were on the current map make sense. You're trying to connect A to B, but it's considerations like water crossings, going through multiple properties, impact on existing residents. You know, people who aren't familiar with Manvel may think it's a lot of country out there. No, there's a fair number of people who are living on larger properties, and so taking roadways through properties versus trying to follow property lines where we can, that's the challenge.
Thanks, Gary. Moving on, we also adjusted the east end of the Bello Boulevard alignment to turn northeast so that it intersects with the Bello Road at a 90-degree angle. This will provide for a smoother and safety alignment. We also removed the collector connection previously shown between Oilfield Road and Old Chocolate Bayou Road at Masters Road. So instead, the MTP now shows the existing alignment of Scopel Road as a collector, which intersects Masters Road slightly farther south than Old Chocolate Bayou Road.
The thing I'll mention here is, again, you'd love to make that connection. It's an area that on the future land use map, we're going to show as more of a rural flavor. There's been that idea of toward the 288 corridors where growth is happening, the east side of the city and ETJ, trying to maintain as long as we can more of a low intensity, less developed atmosphere. So another reason to use your existing roads and not carve a new road across an area. But it's that resource aspect too. You've got existing roads that you're already needing to maintain, so potentially building another road through that area.
So in the same vicinity, a parkway designation now stays on the existing alignment of Belker Road all the way to Masters Road. The previous map showed an entirely new alignment that would have had to cross Mustang Bayou to connect to the Bello Road at Masters Road. So the arterial designation on Cemetery Road now stops where the road turns northeast at Scott Avenue and no longer extends all the way to the ETJ boundary north of Oilfield Road. All of the alignment changes on the northeast are consistent with the aim of preserving more rural character as indicated on the future land use and character map. We also remove of an eastward extension of the Lewis Lane arterial alignment to connect with County Road 95, which would have also required Mustang Bayou crossing. The portion between Cemetery Road and Markham Road Parkway alignment would have been challenging due to the existing homes and residents along both Mississippi Road and Pine Street.
The thing I wanted to mention on this one is Lewis Lane, we may need to take down to collector level now. We talked about going west with the high school. It can't really continue. On the east, as you see on the old map, it was meant to eventually connect all the way to Highway 6. Now that it's just going to be that short existing segment, it doesn't really make sense to be designated as an arterial. So probably take it down to a collector.
What about cemetery at that point then?
Same idea. We're getting to the rest of cemetery south of Highway 6 is, I believe, one of our next slides. That was one of the considerations for potentially keeping it as arterial. And we'll go ahead and talk about it now. We've got Pearland sites on the left, of course, on the current map was kind of making a southeast turn. We've just got it straight now on the south side, south of Highway 6. But that extension, that red dashed line coming down is a cemetery road extension. The critical thing there is, can you cross the railroad?
Yeah.
Realistically, it's going to be tough when you've already got multiple crossings.
Yeah, railroads are
Expensive.
really bad about not allowing.
Well, yeah, and just the expense
So,
of doing
yeah.
that, I'm sure. You have to count the cost too.
Yeah. So it's one of those, ideally, and if this southeast area of the city limits develops, these are the kind of roads that you need to bring people up into the center of the city, up to Highway 6, multiple ways around once again. But that railroad crossing is going to be difficult. But that goes back to your point about, we have it red right now as an arterial, thinking that if it was on both sides of Highway 6, realistically, it may be more of a collector,
Yeah, if it was
carrying
lanes of
traffic.
collector, it doesn't make sense that cemetery would be a arterial.
Yep, yep.
I'll continue. So now the East Side Parkway alignment that lines up with the existing Markham Road now stops at Oil Field Road on the north end. And Kirby Drive now is changed from a parkway to an arterial designation.
And part of the discussion there we had with staff is airline is the parkway, the higher designation. They're fairly close together, so Kirby kind of serves a next level function if we can get all those pieces connected.
Yeah.
So now I'll go over the map additions. So the addition to South Fork Parkway as a collector, as well as Orchard Park Lane and Croy Parkway as collectors as well. We also have an addition of Little Road as an arterial that, with the future crossing of Mustang Bayou, would connect it to the Old Chocolate Bayou Road, northward to Bailey Road. Therefore, the portion of Old Chocolate Bayou Road west of Patterson Road is also now shown as a collector. Another addition is the new south extension of Cemetery Road from State Highway 6 as an arterial that starts to curve to the southeast after crossing Briscoe Canal, onto reaching to the southernmost point of the city CTJ at an intersection with the Pearland Sides Road extended alignment. We also added a short new collector alignment between Masters Road and the new south extension of Cemetery Road. So as a result of the alignments added in the south side area, a more eastward arterial alignment from the previous NTP map going east from Masters Road was removed. We also added Cumulus Road as a collector, as it provides a connection from between Meridiana Parkway and Masters Road. The addition of Iowa Lane south of State Highway 6 as a collector to Stevens Road. And as well as, this is the one that, yes. So
That's a
this,
strike-through now.
that's a strike through now. This is the one that made it through that Gary just pointed out. Instead of an addition, this is a removal of this particular Kirby Drive near the Manvel Town Center. So I'll turn it back to Gary. Thank you.
Believe that is it. The thing I was going to mention is, when you're looking at the thoroughfare plans, I think I've said it about 3 times, it's the ideal, it's the aspiration you're aiming for to make connections. It's not always going to work, and sometimes we keep lines on map with that hope that if the right pieces come together, we can make a connection. But I'll also mention that just because something is not on the map, you never know what might come to you through a development proposal, a master plan. If somebody, again, puts together a number of properties into a large piece, you may see a connection concept that isn't even thought about on this map. So it is something that can evolve over time, and that's why we're updating again when it's been updated several times over recent decades. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll leave it there. I know we gave you a lot of information, but as I said, we wanted to kind of establish the infrastructure and transportation aspects so we can come back and talk land use.
Okay.
And my thing on this, in 10 to 20 years, it could be anything.
Oh, this map will look different, but we have to have a plan. At least
yeah.
there's a plan in
I mean, this is a start, but yeah.
It was very interesting.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.
G.
Development Services Staff Update.
So in your packet, we included the regular development services update that we usually talk about at the second meeting of the month. So this time we had like 3 pre-development meetings. One was to discuss the car dealership proposal. The engineering team was here. We talked about all the requirements that would apply to that development. This is, if you remember, the Del Bello PUD that was amended to allow for the car dealership. And then we had a retail center development and a gas station and convenience store in the Manvel Town Center that we had discussed. On the retail development on County Road 58 and Jerusalem Road, we've included the concept renderings that they had provided. Now again, as always, these are all pre-development meetings. They may or may not end up in a project. So from our last update, we've issued only 1 certificate of occupancy so far. It's for reliable car care. It's on Highway 6 further down. There was a commercial construction plan approval that was provided. It's located on 7310 Corporate Drive. It's for a retail center for Sherwin-Williams. And that's all we have for the update this time.
Can I have one thing, Joe, to the staff update? Just for the record, because it's important, Joe's advised me that, Meridiana, under their PUD, has kind of like their own subdivision ordinance provisions at the back. And the general land use plan actually serves as their master preliminary plat. So because of the 30-day shot clock, the motion to table is fine as long as they agree to it in writing, requested in writing. So I wanted to put on the record that Brian did send an email written request so that our motion to table is fine. It's considered basically enacting on their written approval to go ahead with this. So I just wanted to put that on the record for Tammy to put that in the minutes, that because of the 30-day shot clock, we went ahead and made that distinction. And thank you, Brian. That's all.
Anybody have anything? I would like to ask just one question, because I know it's all over Facebook. The hotel meeting, do we have a date on that yet? That when that's?
Yes, we do.
It's like June 6th or something? I mean, just for people that are watching on the stream, that's.
2 weeks
I believe it's 9th.
Is that for us or for city council?
For PD&Z Commission.
Woo!
Yeah.
So the 9th, 2 weeks from yesterday.
It was all over Facebook that it was.
PD&Z, that's what I
Okay, so
have.
that way we have a date. That's,
Facebook.
Eat dinner before you
Yeah.
come, is what she said.
Yeah, it was supposed to be on tonight, according to Facebook.
I don't think it was on our agenda.
y'all don't have anything else?
Nope. I have
Item H, consideration possible action, direct staff to provide applicants written statements as the conditions for any conditional approvals for the reason for disapproval of any plans or plats were not approved per Texas Government Code 212.0091. Do we have anything on that?
I'll make a motion
Yeah,
to approve.
second. All in favor? All 5,
can I make a
pass.
motion to
Nope.
adjourn,
Nope.
please?
Nope. I have one thing
Okay,
before
go
we
with your one
adjourn.
thing. Okay.
We have a birthday,
Oh, okay.
and it is Miss Mary Morton.
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
She's 21.
19.
So, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks for sharing with us today.
So on that note.
Now can we
you-
have,
yes,
can I make a motion to adjourn?
All in favor? Motion passed 5-0.